Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, great millstone that taught us this truth and never will. And salutation and much love for you, I can pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth, and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. I'm going to try to re-record this here lesson. Nevertheless, last time there was no sound, but hey, we're going to keep pushing anyway. But nevertheless, this here lesson is going into, you know, you keep hearing in the news about this Ukraine situation, and I know a lot of the majority of Americans don't know quite what the big deal is about these things, man. And if you're listening to the mainstream media news and everything else like that, you would always think that Russia's the aggressor, Russia's doing this and Russia's doing that, when this isn't the case at all. All right, so I'm gonna play these two little quick short videos to pretty much sum it all up. All right, but nevertheless, as you Americans are how do I say, engulfed in your bread and circuses with the Olympics and the Super Bowl and things like that. This is what's going on in the background, man. All right, you're being set up for that great sacrifice, which is going to end in what? A thermonuclear warfare, man. All right, these things are being prepared for you right now as we speak. But hey, most Americans are just, in la la land, living carelessly, worrying about what's on Facebook and Instagram, the next little whatever challenge that's going on right now, man. All right, so let's listen into what's going on here with the importance of Ukraine. All right.
Why is Ukraine's accession so dangerous? There are problems. European countries, such as France, think that Crimea is part of Ukraine, and we deem it part of the Russian Federation. If there are any attempts to change the situation using military means, and Ukrainian doctrine says that Russia is an adversary, and
real quick, just to give the backdrop, you go into the early 90s, 91, 92, all right, with the, back then you had what they call the USSR, all right, but in around 91, 92, you had the fall of the USSR, all right, which basically America pretty much, was working on Russia, basically to collapse them, all right, and then, over time you had what they would call Russia, it was changed to Russia, and now you have what they're calling the Russian Federation, going into what Ezekiel, I believe, 38 and verse 4, about the hooks being put into the jaws, all right, Russia's being brought back to that state, so inevitably you have to understand that Ukraine, Crimea, and all these areas, Georgia, all right, all these nations over there, if you look at a USSR map, they're actually Russians, all right, these are all Russians that, again, at that point in time, all right, they pretty much went in there and sliced up the Russian map, all right, but these were still Russian people, all right, that was, it's just like saying, United States of America, Floridians or Americans, right? But nevertheless, let's say that there was some type of war or something where, let's say Mexico, or let's say Texans, right? Let's say Texans are Americans, but let's say Mexico wound up winning a war against America and took Texas, or Texas succeeded, from America. Well, if they was to go back, those people that's living in Texas, you basically still Americans, man. You speak the American language, have the American customs. These are pretty much all Americans. Some of their relatives may have moved from America to Texas and vice versa, but you can't look at them as a whole nother nationality of people and things like that. These are all the same folks. But nevertheless, let's continue on.
Crimea may be returned by military means. Now, imagine Ukraine as a member of NATO. Article 5 is not repealed. To the contrary, President Biden...
And going into this Article 5, basically, NATO has a doctrine that says things like if one member of NATO is attacked, all of NATO is going to come out to their protection, all right? Or if one situation happens with them, they're going to all come to their aid. Now, they're going to put it into perspective for you here.
Has said recently that this article is imperative. It will be implemented. This means there will be a military confrontation between Russia and NATO. And I asked at that press conference, are we to go to war with NATO? But you're the second part of this, and I'd like to ask you, do you want this war? Do your readers, do your audience, want this war? War between Russia and NATO? This is how it will happen if events run this way. We all care for European security. And
all right, so now let's look at this other video real fast. But nevertheless, hey, you see what's going on over here, man. All right, America and the Russian allies are pretty much trying to go in. They keep telling you about Russian aggression, but it's America and their NATO allies that's getting closer and closer into the Russian borders. All right, and trying to put their military missiles and things like that on the border to prepare for an invasion into Russia. not the other way around. All right, you look at a map of military, American and NATO military bases around the globe, you'll see they're surrounding Russia. It's not that Russia has America surrounded, all right? And so Russia's saying, like, look, if you put these missiles and stuff in the Ukraine, and they join NATO, all right, we're going to be forced to press the button. And if we press the button on NATO, that's going to inevitably put us into World War III with, well, if you put it in Ukraine, it's going to inevitably force us into World War III with NATO. All right, so let's watch this one here. All right, we're going to read this one because, there's subtitles.
Я хочу еще раз все-таки подчеркнуть это. Я говорил, но
'Cause I want to stress this one more time. I've been saying it, but I very much want you to finally hear me and deliver it to your audience in print, TV, and online. All right. So, hey, as you can see here, the Russian President Vladimir Putin is pleading with the people here. Hey, man, get your mans over there, man. They tripping, man. All right, they're gonna bring you to your own destruction. This is what he's ultimately saying. All right, because nobody really wants the end game to happen, man. But they know it's inevitable. But this is ultimately the plan of the Most High, man. All right.
мне очень бы хотелось, чтобы вы меня услышали все-таки в конце концов. И донесли это до своих читателей, зрителей и пользователей в интернете. Но вы понимаете или нет, что если Украина будет в НАТО,
Says he realizes Ukraine joined NATO and decides to take Crimea back through military means, the European countries will automatically get drawn into a military conflict with Russia. All right, going back to that Article 5, because, hey, if they go into a military conflict, who are they going to be in conflict with? They're going to be in conflict with Russia. So if Russia defends themselves against these folks, you see what I'm saying? It's automatically World War III because NATO is going to come to their aid.
и военным путем будет возвращать себе Крым, европейские страны автоматически будут втянуты в военный конфликт с Россией. Конечно, значит,
Of course, NATO's united potential and that of Russia are incomparable.
потенциал объединенной организации НАТО и России несопоставим. Мы понимаем. Мы даже понимаем, что Россия одна
We
из
also
ведущих.
understand that Russia is one of the world's leading nuclear powers. So they're saying, hey, we know that y'all way more, how Jake would say, hey, they deep over there. But hey, what's the equalizer, man? Russia's got those nukes as well, too, man. All right, they have that dead hand system. And really, this is a lose-lose situation for everybody, man. All right, so once you launch off one of those, no nation is going to just launch off one nuke and try to scare off the other nation with that. They realize that if they launch one, they have to launch them all. And if one side launches one and they're going to launch all of them, then the other side has to launch all the other ones, which is going to lead into what? Those how you call it, the thermonuclear destruction, man. All right.
Ядерных держав, по некоторым компонентам.
Says, and it's superior to many of those countries in the terms of the number of modern nuclear forces components, meaning that Russia has way more higher tech nukes than these, than the NATO members.
По современности даже многих опережает. Победителей
And
не
there will
будет.
be no winners.
И вы окажетесь втянуты в этот конфликт помимо своей воли.
Again, because the majority of these Americans, they don't really even understand what's going on, man. If you was to tell them, like, yo, man, because they keep inching up against them like that, it's going to cause them to draw nuclear weapons out upon you, man. Most Americans wouldn't be voting for these people and all these things that's going on like that, man. They're like, nah, we don't want no smoke with Russia. But with the media that they have, they always say Russian aggression, Russian meddling in the elections, the Russians are the bad guys. But again, all it would take is for you to know a little bit of this history and geographical locations of where America and NATO's militaries are at and what they're trying to do. And you will clearly see that they're preparing to encompass and circle around Russia, all right, and try to strike and take them down. But what? Russia's going to pretty much launch them nukes up on their ass, man.
Вы даже не успеете глазом моргнуть, когда будете исполнять.
It says you will be fulfilling Article 5. All right, again, going into what I was just speaking about, a collective defense of NATO members in a heartbeat, even before you know it. Because, Russia looks at it this way. Hey, if y'all draw them into NATO, all right, then we ain't going to have no choice because y'all going to inevitably just put your missiles up on our borders like that. We're not going to stand for y'all putting y'all missiles on our borders and aiming missiles at us. So it's just like with the Cuban Missile Crisis, how America put sanctions onto Cuba, all right, because they're 90 miles off of the coast of Florida. They were like, nah, y'all missiles are way too close. And then if y'all was to even launch your missiles, we wouldn't have no time to react. So just imagine if vice versa, you tripping over 90 miles from Cuba to Florida. Imagine you having your damn missiles, stationed, let's say in Mexico or in Brownsville, Texas, right there on the border of Mexico right there, man. All right.
Пункт 5 Римского договора. Господин президент, конечно, не хочет этого развития. И я не хочу.
Says President Macron doesn't want this, and I don't want it, which is why he's been here torturing me for 6 hours straight.
Поэтому он здесь и находится и мучает меня уже 6 часов подряд.
But nevertheless, hey, and this is the bulletin of the atomic scientists. These are the people that have that doomsday clock. But nevertheless, let's just jump into some scriptures real quick. All right, this is Job 18. I'm gonna start at verse 5 or verse 6. Let me go to verse 7 for time's sake. It says, the strength of his steps, the steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. All right, a lot of these moves that America's making right now is only bringing them to their own demise. You know, pushing the MOTB. All right, pushing this here doctrine of expansion all the way across with Russia, forcing them, because you got to think about it, man. Russia wouldn't be sitting over here developing these weapons, these nuclear. Obviously, according to the Most High's will, that's what's going on. But in a carnal sense, man, Russia wouldn't be developing hypersonic missiles and missile defense systems and greater thermonuclear missiles and things like that if it wasn't for American aggression upon their borders, man. All right, you know, if you didn't live in a neighborhood with high crime, you wouldn't be buying an alarm system and putting burglar bars in your house. It's because of the conditions of the battle or the conditions of your environment that makes you prepare for those things. So the conditions that's going on outside of Russia is making Russia build up this here arsenal, man, which is going to be used to take down America. All right. Verse 8 says, for he is cast into a net by his own feet and walketh upon a snare. The jinn shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. All right, and we know who those robbers are going to be. All right, it's going to be Russia, the conglomeration of nations that they rolling with, but then also America's allies, man. All right, because you're endangering them as well too, man. Like Putin just said, hey, French president was over there saying, look, bro, we don't want the smoke like that. But see, and they starting to wake up from this Babylonian juice and sober up, saying, hey, man, America the one bringing us into all this drama, man. They're the ones putting targets on our backs, man. We'd be better off with the resources and less war and all this extra shit if America was out the picture and we stopped dealing with them and dealt with the other side, because they're not really the threat. All right, it's just the propaganda that they keep pushing out that makes them seem like the threat. All right. It says, the jinn shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. All right. It says, his strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction ready at his side. It shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. All right, so let me read the next verse, the next two verses. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle and shall bring him to the king of terrors. Because ultimately, these are the weapons of the Lord's indignation. He's going to use these weapons to do what? To destroy the land of Babylon. Verse 15 says, it shall dwell in his tabernacle because it is none of him. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. All right, what? And that's going to go into those thermonuclear missiles again, man. All right, because hey, this is what those missiles was created for in the beginning, man. All right, let's go from there to Jeremiah 50 and 22. It says, the sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. All right, going into what? World War III. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? How is America taken off the face of the earth, man? Through thermonuclear warfare, man. And this is what we see in being built up. And who's going to be the one that's going to implement that, man? All right, it's going to be what? Those Russians. And we see these Russians posturing for this here movement right now, man. We see all the things shaping up for these times right now as we speak. It says, verse 24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh. So, hey, they're unaware. They think that they're going to prevail against all their enemies and keep marching forward and everything else like that. The pride of his heart has lifted him up. But ultimately, this is going into his own demise, man. All right, this is where it's going to end for him at, man. All right, verse 25. Yahweh hath opened his armory and brought forth the weapons of his indignation, the work of Yahweh of hosts in the land of the Chaldees. All right, so going into what? Those thermonuclear missiles, man. This is why the Lord has the Russians preparing themselves and upgrading their systems right now, man. To do what? To destroy Babylon off the face of the earth. Verse 26 says, come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouse, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. So, hey, this is how America's going to be taken off the face of the earth through what? The Lord's weapons of his indignation, which are those thermonuclear missiles, man. All right, shot off by Russia. All right. And we're seeing that preparation being prepared right now, man. All right, we see all these things being built up at the time as we speak. Let me jump down to verse 40. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, all right, with the fire and brimstone that rained from the heavens, all right, same way it's going to be here. It says, as the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith Yahweh, so shall no man abide there, neither the Son of Man dwell there. All right. Well, let me keep reading. It says, verse 41. behold, a people shall come from the north, a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. They shall hold the bow and the lance, and they are cruel. They will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon their horses. Everyone put in array, like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. And so once they start shooting these missiles off, man, you can see these different launchers that they have, man. They be all in unison, man. They just be letting off, man. All right, once these missiles are launched, they're not gonna return in vain, man. They're gonna all go and hit their marks, man. All right. Verse 43, the king of Babylon have heard the report of them. His hands waxed feeble, and anguish took hold of him, and the pangs of a woman in travail. All right, and you have a lot of these top military brass and these top advisors and things like that looking at every time Russia reveals a new weaponry, all right, and hypersonic missiles, and they were looking at their arsenal saying, hey, man, we ain't got nothing that can top that, man. We don't have anything to stop that with, man. Russia, they got to be stopped with these certain things, man. They starting to see a lot of their allies starting to get weak as far as their partnerships together and starting to side with Russia. So now they starting to move faster with their agenda, but ultimately it's going to bring them to their own demise. All right. Let's jump over real quick to Jeremiah 51 and 11. It says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yahweh hath raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. So going into these things, basically going into what? Destroying Babylon off the face of the earth, with these weapons of mass destruction. All right. Hey, the Lord raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes. He's put him in this position to worry and to focus on these things and to see these things coming, not to bow down, but to also build up. All right. Build up his nuclear arsenal and all his weaponry and things like that. Get things set, get prepared for this here battle. The Lord was working on their minds from the jump street. All right. For this here point in time in this moment. All right. To ultimately fulfill his will, which is to do what? Let me read verse 15. It says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare to ambush, for Yahweh have both devised and done which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. All right, by making this place a desolation, all right, without inhabitants. All right, and that's how this here place is going to go out, through what? Thermonuclear destruction. All right, we'll close out and let me grab this real quick. You pretty much read this whole chapter, but there's a certain point. Oh, verse 17. Yep. Isaiah 13 and 17 says, behold, I will stir up the Medes, all right, against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. All right, so, hey, ultimately, let me just, well, we can read down a little further. Let me go back up. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they should not delight in it. So you're not going to be able to pay these Russians off, man. You're not going to be able to make no backdoor deals with them or nothing, man. Because, hey, this is predicated on their survival. They seen what you've done to these other nations. All right, made these little weak deals with them and wound up exploiting all their resources and everything. But, hey, here in America, or with Russia and America, you're not going to be able to make no backdoor deal with Russia, man. Verse 18, their bows also shall dash the young men in pieces. They shall have no pity upon the fruit of their womb, and their eyes shall not spare their children. All right, and going into what? They're not going to just be hitting these military bases and things like that, man. They're going to be sitting over here, they're going to, lay the whole land waste. All right, they're going to pretty much take Babylon off the face of the earth, man. All right, they're going to pretty much destroy everything from coast to coast. That goes into what the lake of fire, man. All right, so it's not like, oh, they're going to just be hitting a certain war zone and certain places, over in the Middle East and, the military, military installments in Russia. No, man, they're going to be letting loose over here on all, every place, here in America is pretty much going to fall, man. Every place here in America is going to get touched by their heat, that Bessemer destruction, man. All right. Verse 19, in Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees, excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, so ultimately it's going to be destroyed where no man's going to inhabit it ever again, man. All right, so hey, it's going to be turned into a nuclear pile of ash, man. All right, a monument to know how not to live your life no more, man. All right, so hey, the point was made there. All right, so Lord's will, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rekakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught us his truth and every will. Citation and much love for you, I can pushing his truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.